Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a video brought to you by your dad, essentially. Play Company is a detachment from Death Guard that has been here the entire time because it's the index detachment. But as Death Guard goes on the rise, Play Company has been doing fairly alright. And I will say, Flyblown Host has also been doing quite alright. But for today, I want to talk about I don't want to say a tech choice because it's not like, oh, this weird interaction, do 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 do. But it's more so something happened in CSM where people are finally bringing a unit because it benefits them. And you have a translated unit that, given your current game plan, should probably help you out there too. So, Play Company is the one that gives you better contagions. You have Skull, Squirm, Blight, into which you can worsen the ballistic and weapon skill characteristic of your opponent's weapons. Rattle Joint Ague is where you worsen their save characteristic by one. And Scarber's Soul Rot, Scabros? Soul Rot, worsen leadership and objective control, right? So, what's currently going on is, well, also I should mention that the regular contagion is -1 toughness. Okay, cool. So what's going on is that Death Guard is having fun with vehicles, like a lot of the meta is right now, and specifically the Plague Burst Crawler. And what does the Plague Burst Crawler do? It does indirect fire. Yes, yes, we know. Indirect fire, it keeps happening, right? With Spore lace shockwaves in your shooting phase after this model has shot, if one or more of those attacks made with its Plague Burst Mortar scored a hit against enemy infantry, they gotta take a battle shock test. For 180 points, this is pretty good. Indirect fire on T10, 2 up save, 5 up invul, 12 wounds. That is a good portion of Death Guard list right now. And the other part includes Death Guard Predator Annihilators, into which Annihilators, each time a ranged attack made by this model is allocated to a monster vehicle model, you can reroll the damage roll, and you have access to essentially triple las cannons, or two plague heavy bolters, excuse me, combi weapon, plague combi bolter, and the havoc launcher. Right, for 130 points, this is pretty alright for 10 wounds, 3 up, 11 wounds, right? So people are bringing this to deal with the heavies, and people are bringing this to deal with the infantry, but also kind of everything because the Plague Burst Mortar is blast, indirect fire, lethal hits at 48-inch range, d6 plus 3 attacks hitting on fours because of the indirect fire situation, but direct fire, it does hit on threes. Strength 8, AP 1, damage 2. Now, that's the layout for what most of the list contain, but some of them still have faith in Mephitic Blight Haulers. I see this as a very 50-50 type of unit where some people still have faith in their Mephitic Blight Haulers, other people seem to be dropping them. And with Tank Hunters, each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack that targets a vehicle unit, add 1 to the wound roll. So, that part there is interesting because +1 to wound, and how do we calculate wounds? Well, if the strength and then into the toughness, that's how you do the wounds. So if the strength is greater than the toughness, you're wounding on threes, so on and so forth. We know how that goes. Now, the thing about playing Death Guard, and besides we have Plague Company, you do still have access to the -1 toughness, and if you do get in there, let's just say, for the purposes of this, use Rattle Joint, uh, that's -1 to the save, -1 toughness, +1 to wound. Yeah, you become a tank hunter, which is something that you kind of need to do right now. So, what is the not tech that I want to discuss now that we have the layout of the land? Well, what if I said, hey, you should be taking Hell Brutes, right? Now, I know it's not a one-to-one translation for what CSM can do with this thing. The Hellbrute in CSM gives you both sustained and lethal around the aura, 6 inches, right? So on and so forth. And in something like Packbound Zealots, getting sustained or lethals on fives, or sustained and lethals on fives exactly. That weighs a little bit differently. But I do want to take a moment to say that the Death Guard Hellbrute is probably the best Hellbrute at the moment. Outside of that, I know that's like not not a stiff competition, right? A Thousand Suns and well, I guess the World Eaters one actually has competition there, but it's not the hardest race to win. But for the Death Guard Hellbrute, it has infused with the blessings of Nurgle. Each time this model is selected to shoot or fight, after it has finished making its attack, select one enemy unit that was hit by one or more of those attacks. Until the start of your next turn, that enemy unit is always considered to be within contagion range of this model. Each time this model ends a charge move, select one enemy unit within engagement range of it and roll 1d6. On a 2-up, they take d3 mortal wounds. We're not going to do the Hellbrute Fist description right now because, that whatever, right? So the Hellbrute, what we're looking for it is infused with the blessings of Nurgle, where it has some 48-inch guns, and you just need to land a hit, right? If it can get a hit on that target, now it's always considered to be within contagion range of this model, which means it's already going down -1 toughness, and let's say Plague Company -1 to the save. That's a problem for 130 points. That's kind of all right, especially when you're doing ooh. All right, things like that. So I think that's worth investigating again because we see other people wising up to the Hellbrutes. I'm just saying, Death Guard players, this would be your time. Now, when I was figuring out, well, where would a Death Guard player put this, right? Where would that go? Also, I should note, this comes from a place of me thinking about something a little bit more devious. So, instead of hoping that you all don't figure this out or don't think about it, a Death Guard Hellbrute with an angle fires an opponent, fires upon an opponent. Plague Burst Crawler with strength 8, indirect fire, hitting on 4s. Uh, AP1, you go, well, the AP kind of holds you back. Well, it's -1 to save, and what is AP really? It's trying to worsen your save. So it's considered to be within your contagion range, so you're taking that -1 save, and then -1 toughness, right? So you're firing with strength 8, essentially AP1 again, right? And as toughness, so there's a good chance that you're wounding them on 3s for anything that you thought about wounding on 4s, right? With the strength 8, if you weren't wounding them on 3s already. And it has lethal hits, right? And on top of that, in Plague Company, you have access to Ferric Blight. Until the end of phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, improve the AP characteristic of that attack by 1. So, essentially AP2. And if the target of the attack is within contagion range of an infected objective marker you control and a critical wound is scored, yada yada yada. Don't care about that part, right? Um, but what does happen is you have essentially AP2 -1 toughness into the target because a Hellbrute primed them. Now, you go, that's 130 points. I say take a Hellbrute Fist and you won't feel as bad about it. You look at the 9 to 8, and here's the thing, right? As somebody with that same loadout for Carnifexes, I will be fully transparent and tell you it isn't the sturdiest thing. It is not. This is much more a reinforcements target. Bring it on from reserves. Maybe a rapid ingress if you're feeling cheeky, right? But for 130 points and decent enough weapons to then continue to turn your army on, I think it's worth investigating. Especially, well, maybe not especially, because I did end up changing my mind, and we'll get to that in a second. What I thought was especially was you're bringing war dogs. Death Guard loves war dogs, apparently. But then here's the main drawback. Uh, the Hellbrute has 6-inch movement. Brigand has 12. Carnivore has 14. And you might also be looking at the wounds. 2-up save versus 3-up save, this shakes out to about 10 wounds effectively. Um, so it's not too far off, but I can understand that point too. So yeah, I then realized, well, that kind of goes out the gutter, doesn't it? Is that why Death Guard players refuse to experiment with the Hellbrute a little bit more? That could be one thing. If you are a Death Guard purist and you don't want to take War Dogs, let me know if you fit Hellbrute in your list and it does magical things for you. But after looking at that realization, I think maybe there's an argument to either swapping out an Annihilator or Mephitic Blighthaulers. I think there's an argument. Now, mind you, both of those have smoke. You do not on the Hellbrute. So you are Faith, Trust, and Pixie dusting this shit. But again, T10 3 up 11 wounds versus T9 2 up 8 wounds. They have roughly the same durability. And I mean roughly, like roughly. The Annihilators should still win that number shakeout a bit on average because there are more things in the game that will wound T9 on fours than there is wounding T10 on fours, right? Um, but that and then going into factoring the AP is where the Hellbrute gets a little bit saved because with the 2-up save, anything that decides that it wants to fire at you with AP2, cover is plentiful in this game. You just have to roll 3-ups. And that's a little bit easier, and you do have access to a little bit of help if you want it with Cloud of Flies um, for a Death Guard unit for your opponent's shooting phase, right? And if it's during the fight phase, well, you're a Hellbrute in the fight phase, so maybe they don't want to fight you. There's the other trade off to that. Maybe you have to weigh the options of where things would start hitting you. So, mind you, you don't get to pop smoke as you would with the Annihilator if you were to take the Hellbrute. Also, should be said that you have access to a last cannon, right? I understand that it's like, well, I want to kill the monsters in vehicles. And I'm not saying you got to get rid of all your Predator Annihilators. Most of the lists that I looked at run two or three. I should say two, if not three, because a lot of them are triple Annihilator, triple Predator Destructor, and triple Mephitic Blight Hauler. Sorry, Plague Burst Crawlers. Ship it, right? So maybe you just swap out one or two Annihilators for a Hellbrute or two, so that you can prime things for maybe even another Annihilator. Maybe you just make it easier on yourself because this is strength 12 and this is 14, so more than likely the Predator Twin Last Cannon that is twin linked will have the shot wounding on threes, but there's a fair chance with regular Lash Cannon shots that you're wounding on fours. So why not put the toughness down and go about it that way? Right? Right. Now, the other one is Mephitic Blight Haulers, which is interesting because I find this pretty funny, right? So I remember Flyblown Host coming out, and everybody all of a sudden acted like they didn't like Mephitic Blight Haulers, and I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew that I've just seen tons of lists where people are bringing Mephitic Blight Haulers. And then right after everybody got off of that bullshit, it was, oh yeah, Mephitic Blight Haulers are pretty good. So I'm just saying, instead of spending 180 points for two of them, now I know that's 20 wounds compared to 8, right? Um, and they do have the option to plus one to wound versus specifically a vehicle. I don't have to worry about that as a Tyrannus player. But I'm just saying, taking it so that now your missile launcher crack or your multi melta wounds a vehicle on fours. I mean, I guess that's 6 shots for a multi melta. It would make sense enough. But yeah, I think that the Hellbrood is worth consideration. Maybe just taking off a unit or two to fit into the list. Maybe you drop your triple Annihilator, triple units of Blight Haulers, and just call it a day. and throw in some Hellbrutes to see how much easier you can make your life with the things you are already taking. I understand probably not the War Dogs, but hell, if you want to be a purist, maybe try that out too. So, yeah. If you like the video, like it. Got a comment from me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.